All right, peeps, welcome to the Culture and People cast. Today we have Kareen. Would you please, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes, Anna. I am Kareen Walsh, CEO of a business growth strategy firm. I'm a vegetarian. I live in Connecticut with our rescue spaz dog, Kaya. And I'm truly obsessed with helping people get clear on what they really want and discover who they need to become in order to achieve it.
Yeah, right. It's like that authentic alignment, really
Yes.
important. I love
Yes.
that. So you've been working in the people and culture space for a while. For you, what's the best thing about working in that area?
Well, first of all, I love connecting with people. So like when I can learn about someone and their what brings them joy, what brings them down, what they're going after, like that energy to me has always fueled me and I love it. I would say that I've been thinking about where people try to go and also making sure they know they matter and what they want matters also drives me and excites me about connecting with people and culture.
Yeah, finding that desire. I like it. I'm hearing from quite a few leaders lately that engaging their talent is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
I think when engagement is a challenge, there's a breakdown of communication. It's like point blank, start talking, start asking questions, start understanding why there's a lull in engagement. And if you haven't defined what engagement means in your environment, start there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, leaders lead with assumption as opposed to asking. It's like the number one thing I talk about in my book of the do not do, like stop assuming and start asking.
Yeah.
And when you lean into asking the right questions and digging deep to understand how to ignite engagement, that's what matters most. So if you're struggling with that, start with asking some deeper questions and honestly get to know what's going on with your team.
Right. If we're not asking, I think asking frequently, right? I think
Yes.
what worked 4 months ago during quarantine for some people is not going to work for them today, right? We've got to sort of reassess what are the individual priorities of the humans that work with us. And then collectively, how do we leverage what people are able to give, which is, by the way, never 100%. It's definitely never 110%,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I say we're all functioning in our dysfunction.
Yes.
So
I'm a functional dysfunctional.
right? Like we've all mastered how to function in dysfunction. And if we want to be engaging leaders, we have to ask almost like, well, what's the dysfunction you're managing through right now so that we can help you function better? Because all of us are dealing with that. And if as a leader, you're nervous about checking in with your team that way and truly assessing, like, is the situation working for everybody? That unease creates an uneasy environment. Like so face it head on. Like I'm a bull by the horns type of leader as well as coach for my leadership clients. And it's really important to just face it, see it, deal with it, and don't let it fester.
Yeah, that realness and knowing that we are, and you and I jammed a little bit before we started recording, we're all human and we all come with our own issues. I don't know what show it was. There was a show maybe, many years ago. And one of the lines between a man and a woman that were talking is she was obviously upset about something. I think they were just friends. And he said, "Do you have issues?" And she turned and looked at him and she said, "Issues? Have you met me?" Like, yes, I have issues. We all have issues. And that became one of our dialogues within our team, that whenever we were feeling like we were having a bad day, one of us could just look at the other one and be like, "Have you met me?" And it was the immediate like acknowledgement of that I see you as a human and I don't know what you're upset about. If you want to talk about it, I'm here. But if not, that's okay too. Right. But just acknowledging that there's like shit that gets in the way.
Well, and that's what creates engagement versus transactional type of environment. And sometimes you just need to be transactional, like when it's the get shit done type of like just moment in the delivery of something. It's like there is time for transactions and then there's time for connection and there's time for engagement. But if you're constantly showing up and not giving that space to feel connected and engaged, then don't be disappointed if your team's not engaging.
Right.
Like you're creating that. Yeah.
Yes, you get out what you put into it, right? I tell leaders that all the time. I'm like, how much effort are you making? Right. But you're expecting this huge return on not very much effort. not very much investment on your part.
Right.
So let's get tactical, Kareen.
Sure.
What are some tips that you have for a leader or even an organization who says, we actually do want to get better at our culture. We want to get better at our people operations?
I love the energy of let's do better, because it means that there's a continuous cycle of growth and development and an urge for more than what it is right now. So lean into it. Step number one. But now the how you lean into it is really getting clear on the strategy you're moving towards. So like what I see and why I'm a business growth strategist is a lot of the times companies don't put a pause on the doing just because they set a marker. Let's say a year ago, we want the company to achieve X, and everyone got challenged by that this year, where it's like, we had all these goals and we had all these things to do. And now all of a sudden lockdown, shutdown, quarantine, how the hell do we operate in this moment? If you create nimble strategic practices, times like this don't matter. Like my business has continued to thrive during this time because I made sure that we have nimble practices in place where we're checking in on our strategy. Is it still aligned with what our clients want? Now, who do we need on our team to step into it? And the who is defined by skill set, not a specific individual at times. And if you can assess things based on the skills required, then go assess your team to say who has these skills and let people step up into it versus demanding things on people who might not be qualified in order for you to fulfill those strategic goals. So in my umbrella of work, like when I am asked to come into a company and assist them in achieving XYZ, I always first top level is all about the strategy of your business. What are you trying to do? Who's it for? And then who do you need to get it done? And I look at companies holistically, people, process, and technology with leadership in the middle.
Yeah.
So people strategy is one arm of it. That's the strongest arm, I believe, because then the technology and the process comes once you define who's able to do it, right? But without leadership in the middle and developing that, it's really hard to execute against any strategy.
Right.
So those are the pillars that I look at, and I would say continuously assess where you are. So I do this exercise. It's a retrospective. It comes from my days as an agile coach, coming up years ago in tech companies. And I leverage it with all my clients and within my own business, where we periodically do a retrospective on how are we performing against the strategy. What do you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing? What do we think is going really well? And then you assess like, okay, now for where we're trying to go, what are our top actions we need to step into?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you talked about the nimbleness, right, of which we need to do that. I hope that COVID has sort of pushed our frame of thinking that we can do hard things that we didn't think we could do, like work remote 100%, right? And organizations who swore they could never do it. Now you've pulled it off. And whether you stay that way or not, I'm hoping that they can at least carry that confidence back and say that we can be more nimble. We can pivot more often. We can say that we were wrong, right? Like we thought that was going to really work, but it didn't. And that's really what moving from 20 years in corporate to an entrepreneur has taught me.
Yeah.
Is that we can just change on a dime, which I love because that's how I am. Like we'll adjust and we'll sort of bob and weave with it, but we can have that entrepreneurial attitude inside an organization where we have the same nimbleness. You don't have to own your own company to have that nimbleness. You can practice that every day.
Yeah, it's all about the practices you bring and the desire to continuously optimize it.
Yeah.
Because at any point, a certain process can get stale because everything is advancing around you. So nimbleness allows you to stay with the time, keep asking the question of like, what do we need to do better? How and why do we need to do it better? And what does it serve? Not just do it just to do it, not just bring, because like my years as an agile coach, agile was the thing and everyone's going to, deliver that way. Well, some environments did not function well with that process. And I would go in, they would have me come in and do trainings. And I'd be like, no, this doesn't work for your environment. Let me show you where it's going to stop, because not everybody wants to be included in this change. And so if you don't create that inclusive environment to say, what do we need to do and what do you need to get it done, then also you're going to hit a lot of blockers moving it forward.
It's like an introvert saying they want to be a party animal. It's like, you can try to be something you're not, but let's just deal with who you actually are, which I love. Thank you for reminding them that. So Kareen, thank you so much for all you're doing for people and culture as a whole. You've been an amazing guest. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
All right. Peace and progress, everybody.